Hello everybody, this is another edition of the Sun Sports Show. We got tennis coming up. Well, we've had the sections and stuff. Mike, who are some of the individuals or teams from your coverage area that might be doing something in the state?
Well, Egan has qualified for the state tournament for the second year in a row. It's also their second trip ever to state. And shout out to their coach, Mike Remington, who's actually admitted to having watched our webcast occasionally.
Wow, that coach.
He's the one.
He's apparently the one web hit.
Please get your team to watch us too.
They drew the toughest possible opponent in the first round because they're going to get Edina. Tennis is one of the remaining sports that does not seed their tournament, so they knew this well in advance that if they won their section, they'd play the Section 6 champion, and that would more than likely be Edina. Egan played Edina twice during the regular season, lost both times 7-0. They did not try to do anything special with their lineup. They played Edina as Remington described it, straight up. They will make lineup changes for the state tournament match now. There's only so much you can do with your lineup within the rules, though. So this is probably more designed to try to get a point or two rather than win the match, because it may take a bout of food poisoning in Edina next Monday for the Hornets to be toppled.
As Wayzata head coach Jeff Brodzinski, who also has his team back again this year, put it, they haven't lost and they haven't been close to losing. So, you know, it's Edina and then 7 other teams that are more than happy to be there, but you know, it's all but conceded that the run will continue.
The Hornets cinch?
They're as close to a cinch as you're going to see in high school sports, and tennis is a sport that measures your depth, and their depth, players 1 through 15, is fantastic. They've got Hamish Weerasinghe, one of the top players in the country, at number 1, and they've got Noah Swiler at number 2. Very good. He'd be number 1 on just about any other team.
How would their JV team do against most varsity teams?
I think their JV might have a chance to be top 8 in the state. They're that good, and you know, especially the first half of that JV lineup would be very competitive with anybody. But Edina's tennis tradition is still there. The depth is there. All signs point to a title. They've had a couple matches where teams have been able to get 2 points, but that's with some big adjustments in their lineups.
And it's really been amazing what they've done. You look over what's happened even the last decade. Every once in a while there's a school that'll come up and challenge them. I know Moundsview had a couple of years there where they were good enough to play with them. I think they did beat them 1 year for a state championship.
Right.
But it's, you know, the longevity that Edina's been able to do this for is something else.
They're not bad. They hit the ball so well. I was out at a meet this year. They were playing Beneld. The meet got over fairly early, so what happens? The top players from Edina go out and hit against each other. That was probably the best high school tennis I've seen all year.
You didn't grab a racket?
No, not likely. I was too busy shooting photos, but
right.
I wouldn't want to hit against those guys.
Nick, any notes about the
just Wayzata's back? You know, they got a pretty good story. They last year they went to the state tournament and lost their opening round match, and then ended up coming all the way back and beat Rochester Mayo, which actually had won the state championship the year prior in the consolation match. And I know the Wayzata players and coaches were happy with that. Rochester had returned like 8 of their top 10, and so that was a good win for Wayzata. And they kind of said they used that as motivation this year, some momentum into the summer. And they really didn't start playing well until about a quarter of the way through this season. But they peaked at the right time. They won a tough section final match against Minnetonka, 4-3 to get to state. And that was the reward. Jeff Brodzinski told me, their head coach, now let's go see what we can do. You know, it's a 1 match at a time mentality they're taking, but he did point out they are on the opposite side of the bracket as Edina, and a state championship match with the Hornets would be what he called a fitting end to what's been a pretty good year there.
thanks guys. That should wrap up this segment of the Sun Sports Show. We'll be back with another segment.